Hi, this is Rolf from Tesla Owners US, and this is the Cybertruck t-shirt. And you should be worried about when that, in the middle of the demonstration, that happens and it crashes. But Elon wasn't really worried about it. He really took it cool. And the whole story started way before. And I started pulling all the pieces for the puzzle together. And I'm going to go one for one and tell you why the Cybertruck will become a military vehicle after this intro.
I pressed to say, I went to say.
So as some of you might know, I have worked between 1999 and 2000 in the factory who was producing the Humvee. And so there we installed the system there, and I'm an SAP consultant. And in that factory, you see how that military Humvee is being produced. And how that's being produced is they had a military version and a commercial version. So there was a common part of a production line where the military vehicles went along, and then at the final stage, at the final assembly, the left portion of that went to military and the right portion of that went to commercial vehicles. And they produced about maybe 18, 20 a day or so. I don't know what the rate is today. And it became a pretty old vehicle. I think in the 80s, this vehicle was created as a high mobility vehicle for the government with certain dimensions as well. And they wanted to have that vehicle, and now it's becoming out of age because it's now over 40 years old that this car is about in service. But that was not the cause. The cause was something what I found out long time ago when I looked for who is buying Tesla shares, especially who is buying a lot of Tesla shares. Hey guys, I have to look a little bit further back. And this guy is a congressman as a Democrat, Jim Langevin. And he is buying Tesla stocks and selling Alibaba stocks. And he is, that is very interesting, a congressman, and he seems to be a smart investor, a Rhode Island Democrat. I just have to read it and he is member of the House Armed Service Committee and member of Homeland Security. Whoops, you are wondering why that. So he is selling all of his Baba stock between over $200,000 up to $500,000. They only have to say ranges for that. And at the same time, I had also about Baba stock, quite a lot of them, because I took the right for that one up to $80,000. And that was a smart move, I think. And why does he do that? He might know more information than I know. And what I did actually, in that time, a little bit later, I checked if that's been validated. It was not commented from his office. And I checked a little bit later and said, what is going to happen here? Maybe I'm going to copy the move. So at the beginning of June, we copied that move. I sold all Baba shares and bought them all back in Tesla. At the beginning of June. It was a good time actually. I waited until the curve came up again, and it was, I think, at 119.1. And now we're going to see what happens now. What are the next indications for that? What the next pieces of the puzzle? Central tire inflation system. So, I mean, there's a little movie about 2 minutes from a company called Parker.
Improve mobility when operating vehicles in severe off-road or soft soil conditions. An automatic tire pressure adjustment system CTIS allows the driver to optimize tire inflation from the cab while operating on varying terrains with the simple push of a button. Reducing tire pressure results in a bigger tire footprint, providing increased flotation and traction when operating in soft soil terrain. Although often used in conjunction with all-wheel drive, non-all-wheel drive vehicles with CTIS can actually outperform all-wheel drive in many soft soil conditions. Operating vehicles with tires at reduced inflation pressure is approved by tire manufacturers when operating at reduced vehicle speeds. Contrary to common perception, operating at reduced tire inflation pressure can actually extend tire life due to reduced susceptibility to tire punctures and tread chunking.
They are coming up with a central tire inflation system, CTIS, and that has been used for military trucks, for the Hummer, for the Humvee. And I know that because there's a test track in South Bend, Indiana at AM General where they try to climb certain boulders and try to go through a rough terrain and a really muddy terrain. And when you reduce the tire pressure on that, then what happens is then the vehicle is easier getting through that terrain instead of getting stuck, or it's actually gliding on that and it's coming easier through the terrain, through that terrain. From the dimensions, if you look at that Humvee and if you look at the Cybertruck, the dimensions are pretty close. And the military has a requirement. There is a certain height what the car has to be, a certain width, and a certain length. So that what you have also 3 seats in the front. At the Humvee, there is a drivetrain in the middle and the gearboxes there and a portion of the motor as well. So you have a seat there on the left side, on the right side, and in the middle there is a lot of room in the middle. With Tesla, because you have a battery system and you have motors on the rear wheel and on the front wheel, you really have a room for the seat in the middle instead of having the gearboxes there as a Humvee. And let me show you that military portion of the Hummer and of the central tire inflation system. So what does it has to do with Tesla? Tesla has a patent or requested a patent for an ATIS, for an automatic tire inflation system, for trucks and bigger trucks, maybe also for personal carriers. And Tesla requested that patent pretty soon, and there is probably a patent on the central tire inflation system from the company of Parker, but Tesla requested or maybe already got patented, at least in an application form, that central tire inflation system what got improved on top of the inflation system what I just showed you. So that was another piece of the puzzle. Okay, let me do a screen recording of what I show you now. So this one is the Cybertruck exoskeleton. Exoskeleton built with an external shell. Shell, just how to get a shell together, right? That's the question. Made for ultimate durability and passenger protection. It's a cool feature. Do you need it for a truck and a road rage maybe? And then starting with a nearly impenetrable exoskeleton, every component is designed for superior strength and endurance, from ultra hard cold 30 cold rolled stainless steel structure skin to Tesla armor glass. Okay, with the glass, they still have to work on that, but it was also not so critical. Then you show your picture of that exoskeleton. So it was if there was something better, we have used it. Help eliminate damage or long-term corrosion. So they want to have something sustainable there with a smooth monochrome exoskeleton that puts the shell on the outside of the car and provides you and your passenger protection. That really sounds like an armored vehicle. Now, how do I build that is the question. Tesla has a patent also requested, and let me read that for a multi-directional unibody form. It is pressing from all sides this vehicle in one piece. So here you can see it much better. So from all sides it will be encasted together. So now imagine you put with magnetic or pneumatic all of those steel parts on each of those sides. Don't you get with this a full shell, a full body, all in one, where you might only have to glue it or weld it together at the end. So they have a patent on that machine, and it's an expensive machine, as they told already as well, that this machine is very expensive, but it is worthwhile, especially if you're building thousands of them. And it's even better if someone else will pay for that. And who should pay for that? The best one to pay for that is really the government. Here comes the next part of the puzzle. The next hint is that Elon Musk pitches the use of the Cybertruck as a military vehicle. And it was there announced, and he wanted to use it for the US Air Force. Actually, the Army, the Marines, as well as the Air Force, I think are using the Humvee. And that was an idea, he said, and it later got revoked, or as was said, it was a mistake because it was a correction. He corrected himself later on Twitter. That was before the presentation of the Cybertruck. He corrected himself on Twitter and said, yes, this was at a pitch day at the Air Force, and never mind, I didn't mean it that way. So, but that came from Elon itself. There are more clues to come. Comes actually from the president itself. And he was interviewed at the Davos meeting in Switzerland, and he was interviewed about what he thinks about Elon Musk. So watch that interview.
Tesla's now worth more than GM and Ford. Do you have comments on Elon Musk?
Well, you have to give him credit. I spoke to him very recently, and he's also doing the rockets. He likes rockets, and he does good at rockets, too, by the way. I never saw where the engines come down with no wings, no anything, and they're landing. I said, I've never seen that before. And I was worried about him because he's one of our great geniuses, and we have to protect our genius. You know, we have to protect Thomas Edison, and we have to protect all of these people that came up with originally the light bulb and the wheel and all of these things. And he's one of our very smart people, and we want to cherish those people. That's very important. But he's done a very good job. Shocking how well, how it's come so fast. I mean, you go back a year, and they were talking about the end of the company, and now all of a sudden they're talking about these great things. He's going to be building a very big plant in the United States. He has to, because we help him, so he has to help us.
What I think there was one of the things were very funny, where talking about inventing the wheel. Actually, I don't think that it was invented in America. But The other thing was, if you heard there is, he's going to build a huge factory. And then he said, we helped him, so he is going to help us. So what does it mean? Now, looking for the next clues. And remember guys, this year is election year. Here coming the next clues. So in the election year, and it's a stainless steel vehicle. Where is steel coming from? It's coming from the Rust Belt between Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, West Virginia. So what states are this? Remember, these are swing states. And it's very important to win these swing states. They can go in one or the other direction. And if you don't get those states, according to electoral vote, is you might not become president. And that's very critical for them. The last clue comes from the press conference of the last quarter. And listen to that, what Elon said, how that vehicle is called.
Most badass, futuristic, armored personnel carrier that, kicks the ass of any pickup truck. Basically, that's the goal. We wanted it to look like something that just came out of a sci-fi movie set from the future. And the demand has been incredible. I've never seen actually such a level of demand at this. We've never seen anything like it, basically. I think we will make about as many as we can sell for many years.
He called the vehicle Armored Personnel Carrier. Armored Personnel Carrier. That is not called Cybertruck or commercial truck or load truck or heavy duty truck. No, it's called Armored Personnel Carrier. So what was the original purpose for that? Military purpose for that. And that was sold, that's why he's so relaxed. That was sold long time ago. He never have to worry about it. Why doesn't he have to worry about that? Because if you build something for the military and you need machineries and assets for that, who's going to pay for that? The military pays for that, or at the end, the taxpayer is paying for that. So when there is a huge factory we build, where that's going to be built, you probably know that already. Has to invest in that. Because if that huge machinery, you know where the patent is for this press, this cookie cutter, I call it the cookie cutter. The cookie cutter for Cybertrucks. That has been used later for the military, and it happens the same way. The production line forms the same way, goes the same lane until it comes to the point where here it goes to military with military equipment, and here it goes to commercial. So that's the same way like a Humvee was produced, or maybe still produced. No, maybe not. I think after they're not producing a Humvee 1 anymore, I think because of the Hummer 2. And here comes the next clue. What did you see at the Super Bowl advertisement?
It's from gas guzzler to no gas at all.
General Motors is reportedly going to bring back the Hummer name, but this time it will be an all-electric pickup truck from GMC. The Wall Street Journal reports it will be announced during a Super Bowl commercial with LeBron James.
So that you can see, there was another competitor competing for the same military vehicle that like the Hummer, the Humvee. And probably these are the guys who didn't get it. But if you put so much money in investing for that vehicle and build an electric, sustainable version of that vehicle, what do you want to do? We're going to use it at the end for commercial because the engineering costs were already paid for the government. And that is the cool thing. Now look at some pictures of the Cybertruck, what I have there, some animation for that one. I have some animation videos there, how it could look like in the Cybertruck version, and it looks actually, I should run it next to each other. It looked actually really a much better version than the Humvee slantback version, what it is right now.
And I think actually that the product is better than people realize even. They don't even have enough information to realize just the awesomeness of it. It's just great.
And that's what I'm thinking is that the Cybertruck will become actually the next military vehicle, and they will have a sustainable car, and they don't have to worry about this car to fill it up with gasoline anymore. They need that gasoline because it's one day or another is going out, but they need a sustainable fleet. And if they use those from the slantbacks, the cover for that, which closes itself with solar panels, most of the time those military vehicles are standing around. And they are going to charge themselves while they are standing around. And if they're going to use it, they're going to start it and use it and drive it. If not, they have their version is very close to what it is in the range of the Humvee. The range of the Humvee is approximately 350 miles on the Humvee with the diesel version of that. I think they have also an auxiliary tank for that. And you can have the same way about 300 plus miles for the all-wheel drive Cybertruck. And then look at the specifications for that as well. The specifications is ground clearance, maximum 16 inch. Humvee ground clearance is 16 inch as well. The only thing what does not exactly fit is the approach angle and both angles to approach something and to descend angle, because that's where the Humvee is stronger. Maybe they can work on that, or maybe it was never been used, that people drove in extreme positions for that. And that's what I'm thinking. Wait for the news. When will that be announced? Not now, guys. I'm the only one announcing it now, but I think it's going to happen. It's going to be announced. Elections are in November, at the beginning of November. It's going to be announced in October, so that it's fresh in the mind of the people. Then when it's going to be announced that there was a big military contract, what was assigned to Tesla, they built a big factory with a battery factory. And where? In the Rust Belt. That's going to happen. That's why I'm pretty convinced about that. And that's why Elon is so happy and not worried about anything, because he knows already, hey, the government will gonna pay for the machineries and everything. Okay, that was all. I think that was very interesting. And if you like it, thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, Tesla Owners US. And see you the next time. Bye-bye.